I can be heard. That'd be great. Who we got? Just waiting for a few to jump on. Can you hear me? Had some technical issues last week trying to do this, but hopefully this is coming through nice and clear. About 10 minutes before the team drops, so looking forward to seeing how it all pans out. It's going to be fascinating to see who comes in. If you've had a chance, g'day mate. Thanks for joining us, Joe. If you get a chance to have a listen to Michael Voss's press conference today, it was really interesting, some of the things he had to say. Pretty much rubber stamped that Jack Silvani won't play. Did say that if there was a VFL game this weekend, he would play in the VFL, but he's just not ready to play. And I don't think he'll even be named as an emergency either. I know there's been some suggestions that he might come in as a sub, but yeah, I mean, what about the situation? Good question, Austin, about Gov. He was actually asked about that. He didn't say that wouldn't happen, but he did talk about cohesion. And I think he'll go in pretty conservative. I really do. We're just going to have to wait and see whether that pans out, whether Gov does go forward or a Marchbank goes forward. I don't think they'll be named in that position, but there could be a possibility that may happen. He did talk about bringing in players that are an aerial threat. So I'm not quite sure what that looks like, considering Jack's not going to play. Is Kennedy, who will play, Matthew Kennedy will play. Is he an aerial threat? He's not bad in the air. In fact, he's pretty bloody handy in the air. So he'll definitely play. Do they bring in another big? I'm not quite sure whether that will happen. Will Motlop come straight back in? Thanks, Art. Austin, they moved Gov forward for a quarter when H was out. Good point. Does Motlop come straight back into the team? I thought he really struggled last week when he came on. And I know it's really difficult for a young player, guys, to come on and make an impact, but I don't think he touched the ball. So that's going to be interesting in itself. But I think Motlop will probably play, come straight into the team with Kennedy, and that will be the question about who will be the sub. But we're just going to have to wait and see. Melbourne have got their own issues as well. Obviously, Van Rooyen is out suspended and Brayshaw is out with that concussion protocols. Their sub last week, Bailey Laurie, youngster, came on really early, obviously, and he only had 5 possessions, so I don't think he'll play. They've got Grundy, Brown in the wings. Harms, who's coming back from a hamstring injury. And the forgotten one is Charlie Spargo. He hasn't played since round 19, Charlie Spargo. He was dropped after the Brisbane game. I agree, Jason. Thanks for joining. Voss did sound very keen on Kennedy. That's a definite. It's a definite. I actually like it because he can go forward. He can go through the midfield as well, so there's some flexibility around that. But do we need another tall or a hybrid? Is Kennedy that hybrid who can mark it above his head and keep someone like Jake Lever accountable? We're just going to have to wait and see. They tried Young forward against West Coast for a quarter. That didn't look good either. Yeah, thanks, Alpine. I don't think that will be an option. I don't think Young is in the equation. I honestly think, I wouldn't be surprised if it's just Martin and Motlop in. What do you reckon? Do you think Motlop, based on what he produced last week in the quarter and a half that he did play, and he really did struggle, would you be surprised if Motlop wasn't named? He was named as an emergency. Hasn't Young just fallen out of discussions? Definitely. Doesn't have the intensity at the level. Yeah, it's an interesting one, isn't it? You know, Kemp, Gov back in, Wiedering, looks a really solid back line, and there just doesn't seem to be a spot for for Lewis Young. Did he sign a 3-year contract last year or a 2-year contract, an extension? Yeah, because he was all the rage at one stage, Lewis Young, but he's really fallen out of favour. And to be perfectly honest, it's not like we are missing him. He did come in for a couple of weeks when we didn't have Pitnet and TD Cale available, and it was him and Jack doing the ruck work. That worked okay. Yeah, so interesting press conference. We've got another 5 minutes to go. It was only a quarter. I think they will look at a body of work of Cottrell. Thanks, Jason. Yeah, I agree. Yeah, I'd like to see him here. And I think we were probably just one X factor short in our front half. Owies and Fogarty are really hard working, but not necessarily. I mean, Owies is a goal kicker. He's a regular and consistent goal kicker, but he doesn't have that lightning speed and X factor which Motlop has. And Motlop could have a night out. He could have a night out tomorrow night in these types of conditions. It's going to be 23. What about the weather? Thanks, Art. No other forward to come in bar Motts. Who will play? Definitely can't pick Honey. We also have obviously Fisher, and who's the other one that's sort of missing out at the moment? Help us out here, Fisher, and the other one, Dow. Obviously Dow as well. Will Dow come in as a sub? Yeah, just going to have to wait and see on that. Voss spoke about ignoring the dangerous narrative and trying not to get sucked in about the narrative. I thought it was have a listen to his press conference. I really liked it. There was an air of confidence, but a fair bit of apprehensiveness as well about the opposition. And he really rates Melbourne. And really pumped them up. And I think he wants to go into this game as the underdogs. He did say it will take our best. And then he went on to say our absolute best to get the job done. So I think in my preview, guys, and my review of the Swans game, I said we were nowhere near our best. So when do you think we were at our best? That's a question I'm asking you now. I think Kennedy adds more value. He can mark strongly, kick accurately, and go into the middle. Winner for me if he's fit. Yeah, exactly, Grant. Tend to agree with that. Pretty reliable as well. Beautiful disposal. Can kick a goal. We need a big body replacement. That will be Kennedy. The Port game, Peter Bricks. Yeah, I think so. I think that little patch of form with the Port game, the Collingwood game, was where we were being at our absolute best. Can we get back to that? I think it's going to be difficult without Harry and Jack Martin. I really do. Collingwood game, definitely. Thanks, Brian. Can we get back to that absolute best is going to be the question. Were we at our absolute best when we played Melbourne in round 22? We didn't have Walsh. We didn't have Chera. They're definitely going to be a real bonus for us tomorrow night, but Oliver was only his first game back. Gawn had a quiet one. Petrarca wasn't on fire that night. Viney was very good, and we know how good their defence is. He spoke a bit about Max Gawn today. He said that our ruckmen are going to have their hands full, and we're going to have to try and even up the matchups where possible with Max Gawn. A couple of other things he said. He was talking about their defence and our ability to have those contests. And every time that we've played Melbourne, Lever has had pretty much a run of the show. You know, he's had a night out. Is there a spot for Boyd as a lockdown? Like it a lot. Our best ball movement won't happen with 4 tall backs. Agree. We should be a 2-goal better side without Harry. Interesting. I'm not quite sure about that. Oh, well, what do you mean by a 2-goal better side? I missed the last bit of that comment. Are you alluding to the fact that his inaccuracy has cost us? Kennedy was flying before injury. If it's tight, contest territory game, he's perfect for that smaller forward role. Lee, interesting point on Boyd, missing just a little bit of flair when Charlie gets held. Agree, and Cunners isn't really providing that. Yeah, gonna need a big game. Gonna need a big game out of either Fogarty or Cunningham, I reckon. Or one of those small forwards is going to have to get off the chain to give. Let's see. Okay, we might have these teams out, guys. So it's 20 past. Okay, Kennedy's in. All right, let's run through it. All right, we'll start from we'll go to the emergencies. Actually, let's go from the back line. So Kemp, Wiedering, Newman, Chincotta, McGovern, Sard. So pretty much the same as last week. Akers has come up, which is good. Was very sore after the game. Cripps, Cottrell was superb last week. Half forwards, Doherty. I don't expect him to start there. I think Doherty will start on the wing, and I reckon Cottrell might start half forward. DeConning, Owies. And forwards, Fogarty, Curnow, and there you go. Motlop's in. Followers, Pitnet, Chera, Walsh, Cunningham, Hewitt, Kennedy, Marchbank. Yep. So there you are. In, we have Motlop and Kennedy, and out we have the suspended Jack Martin. Tell us what you think about that. The suspended Jack Martin, Harry's out with concussion protocols. It feels like I've got a bit of concussion at the moment. Paddy Dow, Sam Durden as an emergency. Was he an emergency last week, Sam Durden? Austin, I know one problem at a time, but supposing he is an absolute blinder, what happens when Harry and Jack come back? Yeah, good point. Zach Fisher and Ollie Hollins are the emergencies. Who will be the sub out of that? You wouldn't have thought Durden, would you? Would it be Durden? Why would Durden be in there as an emergency? Is there a possibility of a late out? I know McGovern was fucking cramping up last week and looked sore. Bam Bam will be red hot with pressure. Yeah, agree, Jason. Is there a late out? Durden surely only possibility is a late out. Yeah, I'm looking at that, and I've got some footage which I took of that last passage of play. Dow sub with Kennedy being first game back. Thanks, Andy. Fisher or Paddy, I reckon, but Sam Durden is one out of the box. Thanks, Grant. Yeah, I was looking at Gov last week and how sort of sore he looked in that last quarter. He could barely move. Yeah. Geez, I hope that's not the case. Anyway, it's an interesting one to see him as an emergency. Let's go across and have a look at Melbourne and see what they've done. There you go. Little fucking Charlie Spargo's back. He hasn't played since round 19. They brought in James Jordan, who's been in and out of that team. He's a serviceable mid, and they bring in Tomlinson. Adam Tomlinson. So they haven't gone Grundy, and they haven't gone Brown, and they haven't gone Harms. They lose Brayshaw, Laurie, who was the sub, suspended Varuen, and Michael Hibbard, the veteran, who has he announced his retirement? Is that correct? Did he announce his retirement during the week? Has been omitted. So Tomlinson goes back. I actually really rate Hibbard. I know he's getting on in years, but I really rate him. He's really hard and really tough. So it gives them a little bit more height and flexibility in their back half with Tomlinson. So they've got Lever, Tomlinson, Bowie, McVie, the youngster, May, Salem. It's a really strong back line. But Salem hasn't been in the best of nick. Hunter, Oliver, Langdon, that's a superb centre line. It really is. Ball-winning centre line. You've got the sort of class and creativity of Hunter. Oliver is just a gun, and Langdon will just run all day. Who goes to him? I think that's Doc's role. I think that's Doc's role to go to Langdon if Cottrell plays that forward role that he played a little bit last week. Jordan half forward, Fritsch, Petrarca, Sparrow, McDonald, Neil Bullen. Now that's a smallish forward line, isn't it? That is somewhat of a surprise. Fritsch and McDonald and Petrarca on the half forward flank. Now they've brought in Jordan as a mid, so they can maybe push Petrarca forward at times, given that Brayshaw's out. Geez, that worries me when I see Christian Petrarca on a half forward flank. He'll start on ball, but he'll play on Petrarca. He'll play. Is that a job for Newman? Would you play Newman on Petrarca if he started forward? Say he started forward. Who would you play on Petrarca? I don't think he'll start forward. I think he'll start on ball. But if he goes forward, it's sort of dusty like. Who plays on him? Gov and Newman take turns. Probably agree with that. I've seen Gov play on Pickett last year and did a reasonable job on him because he's got that speed. Newman, yep. Then they've got Sparrows come back into the forward pocket. Tom McDonald, he's not the player he was. So you're saying that they'll put Petrarca to match up on Marchbank, Newman on Pickett, surely. Neil Bullen, I really rate Neil Bullen. He's a fucking good player. Really underrated. Gawn, Viney, Pickett named on the ball. Not sure that's going to happen. And their bench is Charlie Spargo, Trent Rivers, who's played a bit on ball this year. Joel Smith. Joel Smith's the other one who can go forward. There you go. He can grab it. He can grab it overhead. So they are going in pretty quick in their front half. Chincotta, Art on Pickett. Ooh, he's going to have to play on someone, Chincotta, isn't he? It could be a Sparrow. He could play on a Sparrow. Pickett is a fucking dynamite player when he's on song. Gov surely can't run with Pickett. He's done it before, Terrence. Played on him last year, early in the game last year, and played quite well. That suspension for Boyd in round 17 derailed the season for him, definitely. I reckon he'd be handy in this game. And Kay Chandler's the other one on the pine. Their emergencies are Brodie Grundy, Hibbard, Laurie, and Josh Shackey. The Shackster. So they've got a ruckman and a key forward as their sub, a halfback flanker, and a sort of a utility in Bailey Laurie. So not quite sure what they're thinking there, the D's. What do you reckon? I want some predictions here. Well, I've got you all here, and thanks for joining me tonight. It's great to have you on this live stream. I like our side. Even though Motlop didn't perform last week when he came on, I think he does give us a little bit of class and a little bit of excitement, which I think we lacked a little bit last week. And I think Kennedy's a good inclusion, given that we lose a really class player in Jack Martin and Harry out. I think the ins are good. I think the fascination now comes Blues by 8. Thanks, Paul Heston. Blues by 8. Chuck through your tips, guys. Blues by 18. Thanks, James. Anyone picking the D's here? Always blue. Blues by 18. Like it. Keep them coming. I love the baggers, but I really do believe we're going to lose. D's by 19. Thanks, Grant. Blues by 9. Thanks, Andy. Close, low-scoring game. Could flip a coin. Thanks, Art. Give us a tip, mate. James, 14 points. Blues win. Blues pull ahead late with a 25-point win. Imagine that, Austin. Imagine fucking the noise. Imagine the noise. Blues did an extra time. No, fuck no, Splash. Couldn't handle that. Honestly, I can see us leading most of the game. I think I missed that last bit. But did you say get pipped at the post? The Blues under a goal. That's going to be another fucking hard experience. 23 degrees tomorrow, perfect conditions at the MCG. I noticed today, guys, that fucking Melbourne, and I know it's their home game, and I know the MCG is their home ground, but they do train on that fucking Gosh's paddock or whatever that thing is across the road, that precinct there. But they were training on the fucking MCG today. They were training on the fucking MCG. How does that work? How do they get the opportunity to train on the MCG? Fuck it. That shits me. That really does shit me. We should have had the opportunity to train on the MCG as well, in our captain's run or whatever it is. But I saw them running around today, fucking Angus Brayshaw. They were training at the G. Well, I'm not sure about that. The Fab Five in our midfield will get us over the line. Thanks, Alpine. I hope so, mate. Let's have a look at that midfield of ours. Okay, let's have a look. Cripper. Got Picknett, Chera, and Walsh. Chuck you in Kennedy as well. You can roll Doherty through there at times. You can roll Fogarty, Cunningham. We're actually batting pretty deep, and George Hewitt is the other one. We're batting extremely deep into our midfield. And the more you think about it, guys, the more you think about this, and I know I'm a little bit worried about this game, just because of how seasoned the D's are. They are an experienced unit. And I know they went out in straight sets last year and there's a bit of pressure on them, that they won a grand final only a couple of years ago. And they're a big, they rise to the occasion, the D's. I feel like they're fucking angry. I feel like they got a real chip on their shoulder, and I just want to match it with them. But when I look at that midfield of ours, there's fucking no excuses, really, is there? Like, you've got Chera, Walsh, Cripps, Hewitt, Kennedy, and then you've got Fogarty and Cunningham who can go through there as well, and Doherty. This is not... That is as good as it could be. And if Dow starts as a sub, it's as strong a midfield lineup that you could possibly have. And we haven't got our hands tied in regards to our defence. We've pretty much got everyone available except Boyd in our back half. And the only guys that are really missing are, some real fucking potency in our front half with Harry and Jack Martin, and obviously Jack didn't come up. Paul, another tradition broken with us having a first final wearing white shorts. Worried about our forward line. I am too, actually, Jacana. Arts Cripps must have broken ribs. Not sure he can... Actually, Voss denied all that today, Art. Listen to the press conference. He said, don't worry about the pillow under his top. And he was like, he said, don't worry about that pillow. He is ready to go. He was asked about, was Cripps disappointed? Not disappointed, but given that he didn't play that well last week, he'd be keen to, make amends for last week's performance. And he said he's ready to fucking go. He's ready to go, and there's no more excited player at the football club at the moment than Patrick Cripps. What I do want to finish on is Voss somewhat playing it down. I think he's worried, guys. I think he's worried. I could hear it in his... I don't know. I could hear it in his tone when he said, we are the new kids on the block. And they are the seasoned campaigners. Maybe he's putting more pressure on them. We are the new kids on the block. He did go on to say that last week's win was full of emotion and full of joy for the fans, and it was great to see. And he did say it drives them, or us, to want more. I like that when he says we want more. Anyway, I'm very excited. Where are you sitting, guys? I'm in Q. I've got no fucking Q or clue. I'm in Q34. Q34. Ponsford stand. So I'll do a vlog again. For those of you who can't make it, if you're interstate, thanks for joining us, or overseas, Q11, Jacana. Is that level 1? Is that level 1 or level 4? Actually, that's the the Shane Warne stand, is it? M9 down below for Paul, Southern Stand, level 1. 14, Chicana, is that Q14? I know a lot of the queues in the Shane Warne stand. We're in the Ponsford stand where those fucking stinky Collingwood supporters sit generally. But it's actually really good viewing, and the good thing about being in Q34 is it is the same bay that we sat in as a family when we beat Richmond in that elimination final in 2013. We were in Q34 that day, except we were on level 1. This time we're up in level 4. So, yeah, it's fucking just going to be electric there tomorrow night. But we'll be watching from Perth. Great, Andy, with my very excited 5-year-old. Yep, it's hard not to stress, but we've got one of the best September footballers, leaders. Yep. Level 1, row C, Joe. Great, mate. Great spot. Love the vlog, mate. We'll be looking forward. Arrowed fuckwit. Exactly, Paul. The fuckwit will be on show tomorrow night. Jacana Q11. That sounds good, mate. Anyway, guys, I will hopefully see you at the footy tomorrow night. Hopefully I'm doing a really happy review of this game on either Saturday or Sunday. Tonight, actually, before I go, my friends from League Tees, they're just like fucking spoiling me rotten at the moment. They sent me this T-shirt. You've probably seen this one before. I had hard conversations at Camp Kerno, Torquay. It's an absolute classic. So I will put League Tees website in the description below. So check out their catalogue. Fantastic T-shirts. They've got the Substance one that I wear. They've actually got that now that you can buy. It's been a great night doing this vlog from home as well. My missus and my daughter have gone to see fucking Moulin Rouge. They wanted me to go to that, but no, I got out of that. So that's good. And my boys are out at the gym. So it's nice and quiet here at home. But I'm starting to feel very, very nervous about this game tomorrow night. I think the nerves at the moment are more around the excitement of the occasion. But it's a different feeling to last week. I think the quality of the opposition is making me, just a little bit worried. But anyway, I'll catch you soon. See you later, guys.